Good evening, everybody. I'll call to order our regular public council meeting for Monday, January 9th, 2023. Happy New Year, everybody, around the table and in the chamber and watching online. Could I get a, oh, hang on. Let me see. New business. Councillor Tapper.
Pass.
Councillor Manning.
I'll pass also.
Councillor Pollard.
Pass.
Councillor Appleby.
Thank you, and public safety?
Councillor Goss.
Pass, thanks.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
And a couple of congrats. There's nobody here for Q&A. All right, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we got a set of minutes here for December 12th, 2022. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions? See none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have a special public council meeting minutes dated December 19th, 2022. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Conflict of interest. Everybody have a look at that sheet that's on your desk there, and for civic address 615 Bowling Line. I think there's any, do we have any conflict there? I believe. Alrighty. Proclamations, presentations, Q&A. Proclamations, we don't have any, but we do have a couple of presentations. And the first one is, it's a presentation from the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs for years of service recognition for Councillor Tapper. And so I'll just show you everybody. This is for 12 years of service as councillor and mayor. You're always mayor.
There's a history.
But, you know, it's, with the exception of my second term on council, so you were here when I got here first, you're
That's
here
right.
now, and I really appreciate you being here and the experience that you bring. And I did see your name in the booklet when I was in Gander at the convention, and I guess if you had been there, you would have got this second time, but it's my pleasure to be able to present it to you now, and we'll do that.
There was a press release issued by the provincial government
Okay.
on your service recipients.
Get your friend.
Anybody else? Thank you for your years of service.
Thank you.
All right. Keep that. Did you want to have a couple of words, or are you good to go?
No, I think I'm good to go, really. You know, I'm glad to be back in 99% of the ways anyway. So, but, you know, it's a different experience this time around, you know, having a number of years under your belt. But, you know, it's a lot of work. There's more work, I think, now than what used to be. So, but I'm enjoying it, and I'll carry on as long as I can.
I can't believe you stepped away and then came back. I can tell you, guarantee everybody here, when I goes, I'm gone.
We'll see.
I guess you never say never.
Don't never say never.
Anyway, thank you, Ralph. Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board meeting update. Councillor Appleby.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a board meeting for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in December. I was not there in person to participate. However, there was an hour-and-a-half town hall that was requested by the committee that I chair to increase women's participation in municipal government across the country. And the background for the request of this meeting was based on the attack on the Deputy Prime Minister at the time. There were death threats in Quebec. There was a letter in Alberta that was sent out about women not being in the seats here and to be staying home, having babies, not wanting immigration come in. There's a lot of issues that were leading up to this. And as we're watching on the national stage, the inequity, and there's continued to be a discussion ever since I've been at the FCM table about inequity with women and vulnerable people in the community and, you know, gender-based violence. So the frustration of all these things come together. We discussed it as a committee, and we requested with the president time while we were in Strathcona to discuss the issue with the entirety of the board, not just the committee. The schedule didn't allow in Strathcona for that conversation to happen in person. So in December, there was an hour-and-a-half added to the agenda of the board meetings where the entirety of the FCM board had the opportunity to talk about such issues. It was very interesting. There was a presentation, there was a panel. In the presentation, one of the things that we talked about was the fact that out of all the countries, the 187 countries that they're looking at for the Parliamentary Union, Canada is actually 60th when it comes to a conversation about parity. We're 60th down that line. The person who presented to us said for the country of Canada to reach parity, it would take, if we kept going as we are right now, 256 years to reach parity. Well beyond any days that any of us could be sitting around this table. So, you know, for me personally, 256 years to have a gender equal environment across this country is way too long. So the discussion then opened into different people from different provinces talking about the harassment that they have experienced during the campaign process while they were councillors. Some people talked about their children being targeted in harassment situations, and they also talked about the trolling that happens online. So some of the stuff that we do with the CAMWIL program, which is the program that provides funding for the Make Your Mark campaign, that sort of thing, to raise awareness about gender equity and gender-based violence in the province. We talked about the fact that CAMWIL was created at the same time the Green Municipal Fund was created. We talked about the fact that the CAMWIL budget compared to the GMF budget are very different. We talked about lobbying the province, or the federal government, sorry, to ask for more resources and support to deal with this issue. We had a conversation about the culture of harassment across the country, and I promise you every single province talked about issues that they're having when people, not just women, but when anybody puts themselves forward. And there was almost like an acceptance that if you're going to stand up and be a part of your community and lead in this way, you're going to have to get used to this is the way it is. And the conversation was very clear, no, actually that's not the way it should be. There needs to be a cultural shift. And so the question then was, what can FCM do around this? So there was a call to action for FCM to look at what happened in this discussion, talk about where to from here, what advocacy can we do, what programming can we do, what abilities do we have as a national organization to bring this conversation right across the country and start talking about and addressing this issue. And someone had said in the Atlantic Caucus meeting in Strathcona when we talked about this, they said, you know, there's so much change. My mother and my grandmother couldn't do what you're doing now. And one of the mayors from Nova Scotia said, I hear you and I see you, but let me tell you about what my experience is. And even all across the Atlantic region, everyone had a story about one thing or another. So I think it's really important that we are leading this discussion, that our town has a vital role in leading this national discussion with me as chair of that committee. And I want to thank the co-chairs that work with me on that committee for that. I want to thank Tanine Riddick for that. I want to thank the FCM staff for the time and the board for their participation in this discussion, because I think it's really important. So we briefed MNL when we had our board meeting in December about this as well. We talked about the conversations that are happening there, and that's in that arena to have a look at that as well. So I think it's really important to bring that part of what's happening at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities table to our meeting, to have the discussion, make sure all of council is aware of the leadership role that we're taking on this issue. And the fact that FCM was so receptive to providing the support and space to work on that. And I think it's really important that M&L, we had the same sort of feedback from M&L at that table as well. For the rest of the meeting, I was not able to participate in a meaningful way. I was asked to ask a minister a national question. However, I couldn't get into the link. So, and sometimes that happens when you're participating remotely. And for the other 3 days, I was acting for my manager and I worked, so I wasn't able to participate in those meetings. But for this hour-and-a-half session that we had, it went very well. There were great outcomes. And I just wanted to make sure that I was able to bring it back, report it to our council, and let you guys all know about how that went.
Perfect.
So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I think it's a great, good news story and just want to share.
Yeah, that's great, and I would request that for the next update you give for FCM,
Yeah.
if you could put something together to put in the package so that the residents can see it. Rather than, it was a great update that you gave, and Anne's gonna get the minutes, but if we had to have something in there, it would've been.
I will absolutely share the material that comes out of the meetings
Yeah.
with the council for the package.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay, perfect.
But I agree with you, the update is going to be in the minutes of where this came from. So it's just really talking about the fact that it happened. It will be in the updated minutes that do come out from FCM themselves. And I don't want to be writing minutes about the meeting when staff are doing it, if there's any contradiction. So
Yeah.
I hear you, and I promise when I receive them, I will provide that. One last thing, Mayor, did want to just mention, I forgot, was the bystander training. The bystander training, it has been so successful that actually in the eastern region of Newfoundland, Labrador, there was such an interest for allies to want to find out how do we participate in a way to support people who want to run for council or on council. They've actually decided to offer a session here. So it's not just Newfoundlanders who are participating in the national bystander training. There's also a separate bystander training happening here because there was such a great uptake. So that's amazing to see that kind of support in our province for, you know, making sure that all kinds of different people get the opportunity to run and hold these seats.
Right,
So
and to
that's-
that point, I got my first training on January 18th coming up, and you're right, there was a large enrollment from here in our province, and that's why they decided to do one for us, actually, so that was pretty good. So I got my first of 3 training sessions, I think, on January 18th, so I'm looking
Thank
forward to
you
that.
for taking that, being a part of it. That's awesome.
All right,
And that's it for me. Thank you, Mayor.
all right, thank you very much. Any questions on any of that? All righty, moving on. Mayor's report, I'm just gonna give a shout out to Roxanne Waterman and Matt Douglas, whose birthdays are in January. Happy birthday, Roxanne. I know yours was yesterday. And Matt's is coming up in a couple of weeks on the 25th of January, so happy birthday to both of you guys, and hope you have a fun and happy and safe birthday. All right, Business Arising Report. So, as you will notice in the package, we went back to the old style of including this in there for everyone to see. I think it's great, but it's 35 pages, so we're not gonna sit and go through the whole thing. But if anybody has any questions on any items in there, feel free. Any questions or comments on any of that? All right. We have a correspondence here from Telecommunications Alliance, talking about local 10-digit dialing is going to be introduced in Newfoundland and Labrador for the 709 area code. And it's not just here, it's in Ontario, Yellowknife. So just be ready for that. Don, can we post this somewhere, or?
It's already on our website and we did share it, but we'll share monthly and as it gets closer as well.
All right, thank you. Alrighty, committees of council. Committee of the whole, we don't have any report. Planning, land use development, Councilor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. We met on the 4th of January at 9:30 in the morning, myself and Councillor Tapper and Director Schwartz and Jason Slade. So the first motion relates to a resident on 615 Balleen Line, subdivision of existing property, and they need a 10% variance to the frontage. Town of Torbay received an application proposing to subdivide an existing residential property for construction of one new single dwelling with on-site well and septic services at 615 Balleen Line. To be able to accommodate the proposal, 10% variance to the proposed frontage development standard is requested. There were no responses received to the associate public notification, and the background report is attached. So the motion is to conditionally approve application MV 2022-002 /C 2022-108 for the proposed subdivision of an existing residential property at 615 Balleen Line to construct a single dwelling with on-site well and septic system, and to approve the associated 10% variance request to the frontage development standard in accordance with regulations 11, 12, and 33 of the Torbay Development Regulation 2015 to 2025. So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, comments or questions?
Just one question. Is there anything precedent setting with the 10% variance? Any issue for us to be concerned about there?
No, it's allowed.
Yeah,
It's actually permitted under our regulations, so it's not even.
yeah. No, just curious if there was anything to be concerned about that way, but if there's nothing, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the only other motion is to accept permit listings for the year 2022 as tabled. So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Your Worship, I refer folks to the minutes so they can take some time and run down through. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. One thing of note is that we did at the meeting discuss the water allocations the Great Pond development and water services for the town, and the upcoming, I guess, projects that are on stream. We did manage to get an agreement from WSP to be at our next committee meeting, so that we request that they're gonna attend regularly now so we can get the update and continue to put, I'll say, pressure, for lack of a better word, on them to keep this moving through the system so that they understand the importance that it has to the town. And so I just let everybody know that we will be, hopefully have a really firm update from them after the next committee meeting.
All right. All right, thank you, sir. Admin and Human Resources. Councilor Manning.
Thank you, Mayor. We met on January 4th, and certainly the minutes are there. Recruitment and selection part there, the Communications Coordinator. The Director of Human Resources and CAO have finalized a revised job description and the job posting, and the goal is to have this advertised for a 2-week period on or before the 13th of January, and hopefully position filled before 1st of February. And with the municipal enforcement, committee members held a primary discussion in relation to the requirement to reincorporate municipal enforcement back into the organizational structure at the town of Torbay. So we had a discussion around that, and committee members discussed the reporting structure options available to the town, as well as the possible employment options available to the town. The CAO will arrange for further discussions with the Director of Human Resources and the adjoining municipalities, that's what I was trying to get at, and possible partnership options. So we should hear something on that in the very near future. The policies and procedures, notes are all there, and been working on it, and we've got timelines there to have these policies and procedures completed and certainly out for review. In other agenda items, organizational restructuring proposal. That's there, we discussed this, and the organizational restructuring proposal currently being evaluated by CAO and Director of Human Resources. A review of the proposed job description amendments was completed, and further changes to the job descriptions were brought forward by members of the committee for consideration. A further update will be provided to all members of council once available. And the collective bargaining update conciliation is on January 26th. And that's it. If any questions, certainly feel free to ask.
It's my understanding that the committee of the whole on Monday night, that the municipal enforcement will be discussed at that time.
Discussed
With
then.
issues, it's going to be basically mostly HR on Monday night.
The invite has already been sent.
So,
Councillor Everton?
I just got a couple questions around the organizational restructuring proposal. When we had the discussion about the budget, some of the stuff that came up in that discussion was around needs of certain departments to be able to do the work and roll that out. And part of what I was asking for at that time was a org review of the organization, the collective organization. And from what I'm reading here, it looks like we're having discussions about specific positions within the org review. But if we're gonna do that, I think we really wanna be having a conversation about the organizational capacity all in across the departments. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because we've got a year-ish between now and our next budget cycle. We've been talking about planning for the budgets years out. And maybe this can help us, like we have our plan in place for the vehicles and, you know, what we need to be looking at to make sure that we're looking ahead. I think it's important for us to be doing that for the whole organization. So I would just ask for an update on where we are on then, if we are doing that. And if that's something, if it's not something we're doing, if it's something we can look at. Because I feel really strongly that as we're moving forward, then we can get a better idea of what the capacities are to do that work. And I know some departments have been saying we don't have enough staff, we're struggling to do some things. And I think it's important to make sure that we're looking at how that's rolled out and that it makes sense. Also, there's cost savings in being able to find those efficiencies sometimes. And I think the other thing is we'd want people, you know, off on sick leave, having to offer, you know, job applications, rework them over and over again. I think it's important that we just have a look at that across the board. So that's the first question. The second one is, these positions that we're looking at here, IP&W and recreation, are these union-related positions? And if they are, okay, because I just want to make sure, like, if we're in conciliation with the union, that we don't have a conflict there. So I just wanted to ask, like, if there was a timeline, should we wait? Or is that what's happening? I wasn't sure, so just wanted some clarification on that. Thanks. That's it.
So yeah, the conversations on the organizational structure overall, what's been presented to committee thus far is really a full picture of that. And the focus to date has been on the potential change to the two positions listed in the report, so the infrastructure, public works, and the facility supervisor. But as part of that review, we need to, and we're having discussions now, for instance, around planning and development and that departmental structure. So I think while we're doing this exercise now is the right time to bring that forward, and I think
Thank you, Mark. That's great to hear, because that's what I was wondering about. And I just last comment, for me to look at two positions in the org review we're doing now, the first question I'm going to ask is what about the rest of the implications and how's that's going to roll for planning and budget? So that's why, I just want to bring that up and make sure that we're thinking about it and that we're having a discussion. So when it comes forward, we can know as a council, because I don't want to say yes to this and then another department or somewhere else be short. So that's the reason I asked.
My
Thanks.
understanding is we'll bring those changes, and we as a committee decide that's where we're going, is to bring it forward to all council to vote on, so we have the motion on the table for that.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions?
One question on the,
Great, Tony?
sorry,
Go ahead, go ahead.
the collective bargaining or conciliation, I guess, we will be discussing this prior to the 26th, right? We're going to discuss that next town meeting as well.
Monday night.
Maybe the whole, yes.
Okay, Ralph?
Yeah, I just want to say I was glad to see Dawn's email that she circulated last week, that these administrative items are going to be on the agenda, because I think, I'm anxious to see, actually, some of them, they got timeline completion dates, but I'm anxious not only to see what we end up with, but the discussion we'll have before that, and hopefully get them done. Because we're, into our second year now, well into second year of the term, so, we got to get these items straightened up.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you very much. Corporate Services, Councillor Tapper.
Okay. Our committee met on January the 9th. Just to read into the record, payroll, regular payroll for 51 employees for the 2-week period ended December the 8th, 2022, totaled $102,113.78. Regular payroll for 59 employees for the 2-week period ended December 22nd, 2022, totaled $125,632.03. Council remuneration for 7 councillors for the 3-month period ending December the 31st, 2022, total $39,282.60. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department honorariums for 9 officers for the 6-month period ending December the 31st, 2022, totaled $19,285.77. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department honorariums for 36 firefighters for the 6-month period ending December the 31st, 2022, totaled $52,481.20. Accounts payable for the 4-week period ended December the 30th, 2022, invoices in the amount of $499,256.42 were processed. So we have some invoices for council approval. There were 18 operating invoices totaling $443,913.04. So I will go through those invoices. Invoice number S1017031, A. Harvey and Company Limited, $7,634.95. Invoice 315, The Big R Restaurant, amount $7,970.63. Invoice 466101008, Brentag Canada Inc., $5,797.25. Invoice 900, Calgro Insurance, $143,804.30. Invoice November 2022, CIBC Mellon, $24,288.68. Invoice December 9th, 2022, John Curran, $5,000. Invoice 187534, CFL Environmental Inc., $46,910.17. Invoice 22156, Grand Concourse Authority, $6,789.50. Invoice 22159, Grand Concourse Authority, $27,500. Invoice 22160, Grand Concourse Authority, $8,912.80. Invoice 151246667, NARL Marketing Limited, $6,148.81. Invoice Hapset, December 2022, Newfoundland Exchequer, $6,862.98. Invoice December 9, 2022, NL Power, $15,214.70. Invoice December 2nd, 2022, NL Power Street Lighting, $19,727.98. Invoice December 16th to the 31st, 2022. Receiver General, $33,799.91. Invoice December 1st to the 15th, 2022. Receiver General, $53,613.89. Invoice December 2022. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, $6,153.50. Invoice December 2022. Trio Benefits, $17,782.99. Invoice, okay, no, that's that list of 18 operating invoices, so I will move for payment.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
I do.
Go ahead.
I just want to get, I guess, a breakdown on Grand Concourse. When I see that and I look at, Norm, is that just for setting tulips, or what does that involve, $6,789.50? This is beautification for tulip beds.
That's what's on the invoice. It's an extra billing for the tulip beds.
So was that for setting the tulips?
And create the beds too, I think.
Still, like I'm looking at that, and then, you know, I gotta say, when you look at some of this, and it's fine to say beautification and tulips, but $7,000, it's more than what, or just as much as what we paid for the seniors for a meal, and that was something that we went back saying, oh, can we afford it or not? And the other thing, there for beautification, what does that entail? Like beautification?
That would be a question for Brian.
Yeah.
Sure, I can answer that one. So beautification is...
That for the whole year, I guess? Or
yeah,
is that just
that's
for part of it?
30-something sites around town that they maintain for us. So you're looking like the pork chop out there, all of our gateway signages, up at corner in our landscaped areas, and up by the town sign, out there by the town office, up to
'Cause
the history house,
They
all those
don't
things.
do, I guess, maintenance on the property. It's just strictly planting the flowers and watering?
No, they do maintenance on it. So if you drive by on a Sunday morning and there's someone pulling weeds out of a flower bed, that's Grand Concourse.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like for the property around it, because the town staff like mow the grass and
Oh,
everything.
yeah,
out
they don't
there.
mow grass, no.
They don't
no.
do
They
any of
maintain
that.
all those sites. There's like 29 or 30 sites they maintain.
Yeah, because I also thought, like, for trail maintenance, I thought that there was another invoice that had been going that had seen. So I guess for each of those breakdowns, and just wondering, Norm, if we can just verify if there's other invoices.
Yeah, so
And-
trail maintenance is two invoices per year. So they're all budgeted items.
And
And,
I
all,
was
and
just-
all well within budget.
Yeah, but it's Grand Concourse, and it is a lot of money, and
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
thinking.
the best money you've spent and of all those invoices there, that's the best money you spent.
Well, that's up to, I guess, matter of opinion. And I'm one that's fought and loved the beautification, but there comes a point in time where you need to look at, I guess, cost, because roughly what I'm just looking at there now is $43,000, and that could be an
Again, it's
employee.
all within budget.
I'm really not concerned if it's within budget or not, to be quite honest with you. And when you say that, I guess my thing about all this, even though it's probably in budget, are we spending our budget as effectively as possible? And that's where it comes down to me, because we had this conversation even a couple of weeks ago with regards to the money is there, but then how are we going about spending it? And because it was said that this is what's in here, but when I see like the tulips, and I'm the one that's always saying how great it looks, but I just think, and maybe it's the fact that it's there where it's all pretty much together, because then the other invoice that we probably have, and it's probably not in that, would have been for the War Memorial. Would have been another for the Grand
Yeah, so
Concourse,
that-
for the
that-
beautification and what have you with
That forms part of beautification, but that was a separate project this
Yeah,
year.
but it will be like part ongoing, so if we can just have a breakdown and how, you know, they end up getting that contract for that amount of money overall in total, what was it for 2022? I'm not, you know, disagreeing with it, I think it's all absolutely beautiful, but when you add it all up and where the budget is really tight and, you know, just making a comment.
Okay. Any other comments?
We're here. I've got a couple of points. One, just to respond to the beautification of the tulip piece. I know that we've done a lot of work on that in the Economic Development Committee, and there's a tourism component with the tulips where people do actually plan their vacations and travel all around the country and Newfoundland and hit our town, looking for a town. We'll be on certain maps of people looking for, based on that work, and also the work that we've done with the town of Bay Roberts. I know that they gave a presentation at M&L in Gander in, when was that, Mayor?
November. Yeah.
And it was a great presentation given by Mayor Walter Yetman, and actually our mayor had a lot of fun with Mayor Yetman in the tulip discussion as it was happening. So I think that I hear the deputy mayor's concern about, you know, cost and being responsible with our, you know, financial resources, absolutely. But for that one in particular, I think it's really important to have that conversation. There were actually tulips in Torbay, I understand, this year and potentially next year as well, that are part of the Ottawa collection, that were part of the Torbay 50 celebration. So there's some extra benefit there, I think, that it's important that the public is aware of. From the tourism perspective, the other question that I have is the seniors turkey dinner. We've paid almost $8,000 to a business in St. John's to do that. We have businesses here in town, so I just wanted some public information.
That went out for pricing and they were
Exactly,
lowest
and
price.
that's what I'm looking for. I just want some public information made available about the competition process for that. So when a resident calls me and says, well, Councillor Appleby, how come that much money got spent in a business outside of Torbay, that we can have that conversation so the public's aware, if I could, please, and thank you.
Yeah, so that's that went out to pricing and we had 3 prices and they were the lowest rate.
Yeah, it went out for 3 quotes and they were the lowest. It's actually Rod Cantwell has a different catering. I guess he also owns Big R. But it did go to local places and most of them couldn't accommodate a full dinner. So they just couldn't accommodate it, or they didn't quote on it at all.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the following 5 capital invoices totaling $192,797.22 are presented. Invoice 1225, Aquatuna Drafting and Consulting Company, $7,705. Invoice 47283, Constructions Signs Limited, $8,728.50. Invoice 105657, Dependable Fire Equipment, $9,108. Invoice September 30, 2022, Platinum Construction Company Limited, $56,268.43. Invoice ROH, Wears Construction Limited, $110,987.29. So moved for payment.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
The smart dock holder for the SCBA I noticed it went to Dependable Fire Equipment. Dependable Fire Equipment was the people who supplied the truck, the fire truck, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Dependable, wasn't it?
Yep.
Was this a separate item, or was this put in the original specs, do you know? Because it is a tenderable item. I just wondered if it was covered off in that original one, or should it have been separated and put out to somebody else for that amount?
That was a separate piece of equipment that was bought to install on the truck.
Any particular reason, other than the fact that we had a truck from Dependable that went to Dependable? Is it
Probably-
Proprietary?
They probably installed it before we picked it up, did they?
I believe so. I will check the
Yeah,
emails I have
sure.
from Rodney.
Wouldn't it have to be requested before it was put on as an additional item?
They give the background on that stuff.
Okay.
That came out of the,
Donald, check it out.
Fire
the
department.
Fire
Okay.
department.
I know it's not unusual to coordinate things with the manufacturer as well, just I figured that it was out there and the manufacturer could do it, then it probably should have been covered off in the original spec anyway,
mhm,
in the first time, so we'd have everybody else call on as well.
mhm.
And if it's a separate item, then it really should be considered separate or some rationalization or justification given the fact that it went through dependable to do it.
Either way, it's still within our threshold, so, right? Of what we're allowed to purchase.
Right, but the question that I would have, and I would ask that it's circulated for the public in the next meeting if we could, is why this was an additional piece added. Because if we're going out to tender and we're putting a spec out and that's not in there and it could be part of the evaluation criteria, someone could come back and say to us, hold on, that's not fair. You took a piece of that off, you bought it afterwards. So we just want to be transparent and accountable about how we're rolling out. None of us at this point know how it came to be, but I'm sure that Don has just said that there's a background of how that came to be.
There's a rationale.
Yeah,
for the
so
decisions.
if we could just ask that maybe that gets included in the report for the next council meeting, then that would clear up those questions and we could have a discussion about it at that point.
Okay.
And I just want to say thank you. I'm so excited to see all the breakout of the percentages of cost sharing. That's gorgeous. Thank you. I think it's really important that the public understand how we're leveraging funds to get resources for the town, and I think it's awesome that it's in there, so thank you.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir.
So there's a number of other documents there if you want the usual lists, if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. Economic Development and Tourism, Councillor Appleby.
Thank you, Mayor. We were unable to get a meeting scheduled. I had a conflict and wasn't able to make it happen. There is a report here and a very cool Torbay infographic included. So if anyone has any questions, by all means, but I'll let the update speak for itself.
Okay. Any questions? All right, thank you very much. History, Heritage, Culture and Arts, Deputy Mayor.
We had our meeting on Friday. Without going down over everything, it's pretty straightforward here. Operations report, financial report. Anybody got any? I guess we looked at the draft MOU. It's the one thing when I read down over this earlier. With regards to what we're having, there was a meeting Sunday morning, Councillor Tapper. Did we get clarification, or maybe it's Noah I need to ask, about the draft MOU and when that's required back to Mon?
We staff are reviewing the MOU, and an internal document will be circulated to all councils. You will receive a briefing note that will provide you with the comments that we've received back from the Museum Advisory Committee, as well as the staff perspective on that, so that you can make an informed decision. And we will probably bring if everything goes according to plan, we will have a motion ready for council at your January 23rd meeting.
Okay, so that's good timing for it to come back and everything, okay? Because that was one of the concerns regarding the urgency to have that. And if it was required to have another meeting of council, have a meeting, we could do that. Local genealogy group, they're looking to start a group, and it was interesting even in our discussion the other day how many young people that we have in the community that's interested in looking into their genealogy. They're getting ready for the programming for January and February, and as well for the summer festival and concert schedule, and to work in conjunction with the common staff over there, so that there's not going to be a duplication. And I guess the other one we probably need to look at and make sure that there's nothing scheduled for it at the same time would be out to the Jack Byrne Arena. But anyway, it's all going good.
Any questions?
I'm just wondering, Councillor Tapper, have you got anything else that you want
Just
to
to
add in there?
mention, for the long list of grant applications, NOAA received word that we've successful in getting $45,000 under the Museum Assistance Program. So that'll be digital access to heritage component. So congratulations on that, NOAA. We put in for $100,000, but obviously we're not going to turn down the $45,000. So, but there are a list of other applications that are submitted, and we're awaiting results.
Okay.
Could I just ask for an update on the ECOA Innovative Communities Fund discussion and the Regional Development Fund discussion here? It's noted, and it says to be discussed the amount and preliminary discussions, but it doesn't tell us what the scope of that is for or about. I'm just curious if we can get a brief on that, please.
A scope of work for that project has been included in previous minutes from our committee. And right now we're waiting to hear back from ECOA because we need to have a conversation with our representative on the project, and we've already had some good conversation with the provincial government. So once we hear back from the federal government, we should be able to continue that conversation, and then I'll be able to come back to council with a full brief so that you know the full situation and where we're going from there, so with the action items included.
So if I could ask, because I'm a counselor, and I'm reading it, and I don't know which project it's relating to in the minutes as it's presented. And I really appreciate the brief from staff, but it's not clear to me still which scope of work we're referencing with those specific funds. So can I ask that that be connected, and one, we're aware of it tonight, but then two, maybe connected in the future minutes, just so that it's reflected for the public so they can see it. That's all. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the Museum Annex project, and you'll see that those two grants are listed in the budget as well as in previous minutes of committee, both the Museum Advisory Committee and the Heritage, History, Arts and Culture Committee.
Thank you. So this is the discussion to develop the garage next to the History House into a storage facility. And my understanding is that pending the funding that we're talking about to be discussed here, that would decide if the town is going to take its budget amount and invest it in that because of the reliance on provincial and federal funding to make that happen. And I believe that's somewhere to the tune of $200,000 for that project? Okay, thank you.
Councillor Appleby just made me think about something else, and it has to do with this in an indirect way. And I'm not sure if I need a motion or what way, because I've asked for it before. But everything here for grants for 2022, 2023, NOAA has everything listed here. And I've asked in the past year, and I'm asking for it again now, that we have the same chart and the way this is presented from all other departments as well.
Mayor, is it okay if I speak to that? So as part of the year, I guess the year in review newsletter and budget 2023 newsletter, we are detailing all that information org-wide. Go forward, actually, we had a staff meeting today about a committee regarding funding opportunities for the entire organization, and there's another meeting going to be scheduled in about a week's time because not all staff could attend today due to training. But we are going to be putting together a table that will come through corporate services, so it'll detail it all out along with the project updates once projects are funded and underway.
Because I'm just thinking about the ECOA funding that was on the go back in the last probably couple of years, and we still haven't, that still hasn't been finalized.
So I
Where
met with the
that's-
COA today, and we're just finalizing the final expenditures, and then we're going to be putting in a reprofile request. So that'll come back to council as well too with more information.
Yeah.
Once we have it all
That's been on the
finalized.
go for a long time, so if that was in here or something similar, we'd be able to see that on an ongoing basis. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one question on that. I understand sometimes that staff work together on those applications and support each other. So I just want to make sure that we're reflecting that in whatever we're doing. Like, I think it's important, Deputy Mayor makes a really good point. I mean, if we're applying for funds, it's great for the public to see across all departments where we're able to access resources. I know that Recreation Community Services does it as well. There's, lots of things that we do that way. And, a lot of our infrastructure and public works projects are funded and cost shared and stuff. But I wanted to just make sure that if staff are supporting other staff doing that it's seen, because I know sometimes that we've had conversations where we're asking, what funding is coming up in economic development in our committee, and Deanne is there going, oh, I'm working with the other departments to put that together. So I think it's important. There's a great collaboration that's happening amongst our staff, and they're working together in many amazing ways. So I just want to make sure that that's reflected in however we're doing it. Like, maybe it's application, submitted by, helped and prepped by. That way we can show how everybody's working together on that.
We're developing a framework, the A to Z, so from once, recurring applications in addition to new initiatives, the A to Z, who does what, where, when, and how. So we'll bring back a summary document to reflect the collaboration that's happening.
Awesome, thank you, Don. And just one last question. I know, Mary, when you were talking about the co-money, were you talking about the money that we got with the common? So I feel it's
Almost I think it's close to 300.
So there's 3 current projects that we have with the COA, Pecos Ridge, the War Memorial, and the Torbay Common. There were some issues with the COA Direct, so we're working through that now just to make sure that of the $300,000, confirming what has been released to us and to ensure all project expenditures are included. And the unused funding, ECOA is willing to consider a reprofile request.
It's the one to do with pilot that we got initially.
Yeah.
And that's been on the go since like 2017. And we've been given different dates that we had to have it identify what we were spending for, but to date, that's why I keep bringing that up, right?
Yeah, so that's where I was going with that question, because my recollection is that resource came from the pilot work.
Yes.
But I think we still have that outstanding, and there's people asking questions
Yes.
about where are we on that.
Yes.
So can we maybe have that brought back to committee for discussion, public review, or is that going to be wrapped into
We
this?
talked
What is
about that.
That's
during
on the
budget.
Business Horizon report, so there's an update there. So all that information will come back to council and the public chamber.
Right, but my question is it going to be part of what you're doing with this fundraising?
It would have to be because that was all linked to that, so it
Yeah,
will come back,
perfect.
yes.
Okay,
thanks
I
for
just
clarification.
wanted to touch base on that, because I thought that when we spoke about that in the budget, we were gonna go back and get clarification on them couple of invoices, Norm, that we hadn't paid and what was happening with that with pilot. Remember them 2 invoices we were going to have?
I believe our CAO was looking into that with pilot.
Okay, so
Last week.
they're still not,
Oh, no, Don met with Pilot and.
since our
Plan go
budget? Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
so working through all that now, so there'll be an update back to council as well too. I'm just cross-referencing motions of council, just to ensure what's in place and what's not in place. So,
Okay. The other thing there, before I clue this up, was the email that we received from the Miss Oates at the school, and thanking, I guess, the staff at the History House for the, basically the time that the students spend, the learning opportunities and experiences, and saying that they've gone above and beyond what they're doing up there. So it's really nice to get an email and that's on a positive note. And once again, I'd just like to thank the staff there, seeing that it's the first year, for what they're doing to accommodate with everybody and the different events that are taking place there, so.
Can I just go back to make a comment on the grants and the grant application process? I think it really came to the forefront last year that, you know, with the History House in the mix, you know, there are several departments that you know, apply for grants, and you got to have that special expertise, I think, to do that. And it was great when Don mentioned the staff is going to collaborate now even more with Noah and Deanne and you know, whoever, Recreation Department. So it's great. And like I said, there's a whole list there for the History House, but if we could add to that from any other department and get more money into the town, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, thank you.
Thank
I mean, you don't get at least 5 of those positive emails every day, like I do.
Oh, can you share them with me, please?
All right, thank you very much. The Infrastructure and Public Works. You got no report? Perfect. Thank you. Recreation and Community Services, Councillor Goss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We actually, because of the Christmas season and so forth, we just have an update this week just to highlight a few things. We had a successful Christmas camp this year that saw 64 kids attend over 5 days. So that was something new that we tried, and we're going to look at to assess. We're going to do it again next year. But I think it was a good thing to try for the first time. Winter programs are ongoing for registration. You can do it online. The committee would also like to thank the fire department for assisting in putting out the fireworks for New Year's Eve. The Torbay Commons returning to its regular weekly schedule as of today, January 9th. Looking at the outdoor rink, so everything has been put together as of yet, has not allowed for flooding or sealing, but hopefully now with the colder weather, we're going to get that on the go, and some people will be able to, and some kids will be able to take the time to go out and have a few laps around. The director applied for funding under the Active NL stream to assist with the hosting of the Killick Coast Games, and the physical copies of the 2023 Winter Community Guide are available for pickup at Torbay Common and the Town Hall or the History House, but can also be downloaded online. Our next meeting will be January 18th. Beyond that, that's all the update has for now, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, I just got a question there with regards, and I know I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but if that's what it takes, then that's the way it's going to be. Physical copies of the guide, and once again, I'll bring up that we went out and to in the Times, and we've got a few locations that had agreed to take those on at the various businesses. And I know that with regards to coming in here to Town Hall, people normally come in if they have a reason to be in here. But can somebody tell me why they still haven't been dropped off to the businesses that identified that they could be? And the other big place that we've always said is a place like the drugstore and the traditional coffee house and a few like that, they could be dropped off, because we do have a motion to say that they would be dropped off at those places, yet for whatever reason, it don't happen.
To my knowledge, they have been dropped off every time. There's only 4 businesses in town that registered to be a pickup location for drop-off. So I can double check the winter one, but we usually do every time drop it off to those businesses. Now, we could do another round of promotion to see if other businesses are interested in signing up. But most times there's ones left over, like we've had ones returned, and I think had 100 from the summer that weren't used, that are still in my office. So there's probably extras too.
Well,
if
I know the
businesses wanted
summer
to.
that they were used over, and there was probably extras that got, but I know, like, with the drugstore in Irving, and even over to Foodland, they're the places that people are out. Because, again, it always comes back to the fact that people like to have that hard copy. So, you know, if we're getting them and we went that far with it, I'm asking that they be dropped off, because at one point in time, we even said same places as the Northeast Avalon Times are dropped off. And sometimes it just means having that phone call to say, or can we drop those off here? It's helping us with our communication. And again, it just seems like I bring this up at every time that the guide goes out.
Quick question, Jen. From last year to this year, what are we printing physically in the amounts of these booklets?
This time we printed 200. Last time around, I think 300. But I mean, there's still, like I said, I still have ones from fall. So winter, yeah, I have probably 100 in my office from the fall, a pile from the summer. The winter season 2022, we threw out probably 90 something in the recycle bin. So they're just not getting used. Now, the summer, I think, was the most uptake of them all so far. So we'll keep an eye on now what'll be left this winter. But
again, it goes back to, if you're throwing any of those out, in my opinion, and from what I'm hearing, they haven't been dropped off in the proper locations, because they're the common places that they will go, even here at the town hall. Like if somebody comes in for a meeting or something and they see them, but if we got them, and if we only get 100 and we put them between the different places, then so be it.
So we did issue the call for proposals last year for placement of the guides, and as the director indicated, there was only 4 businesses that did the uptake, but we can issue another, the director and I'll talk about it, we can probably issue another call for expressions of interest as well.
Why? I had to ask the question, CAO, why has it? Because a lot of people, believe it or not, and especially the people that live on the other side of Piperstock Hill, they don't even come down this way. And why it has to go, because if they don't read the Times, then they don't see that. So all I'm just asking is try it and see where the Northeast Avalon Times are, even if you put 25 in each of those places, and see how it goes over. Like I said before, I'll take them around and drop them off if that's the issue.
The business would still have to agree to take them.
Yes, just ask them. Yes, like, what is it to go in and ask, like, do you mind if we do this? That's all I'm asking, because then I'm looking at, we've done everything we can to get them out into people's hands without putting them in the post office.
Just being devil's advocate on this, do we get many complaints of people not having access to these? We do?
Anyone that I'm talking to.
We don't get any complaints.
Yeah, because you have them over there, right?
Yeah, but if people don't call or email saying, I don't know where to get a guide, where can I find a guide?
And I'll say this one more time, if we can accommodate 3 or 4 people that would normally not have this and know what's taking place over at the Common, then that's worth it to me. And the other thing about some of this is that we were looking at having drop-ins. Now, a couple of people mentioned to me, because they don't want to register for something, but they'd like to see what it is, or they're probably. And I'm just bringing it up here because it is something that we're getting asked, and other places seem to be able to do it. So I'm just putting it out there because it's the start of the winter program. And I know last time, I think some people said they could do it. It's just a comment about getting information out there. And after our session today, it's all about communication. You can't do enough of it. So,
Councillor Eppley?
We've gone out actually and indicated to residents if they want copies of the guide that we will actually mail them out. And we've got a list of probably 5.
yeah.
So, I mean, we've gone out through all avenues. We did actually a survey as part of the budget as well too, on where individuals want information, how they have to find out, so we can recirculate that to all council. The director and I, the director and I will discuss it and bring.
If you
brings-
go out on social media asking how somebody wants it, there are people who are on social media, so they're going to say they want it that way. As I'm here, I'm not asking for a big thing, only for a few guides to be dropped off at our major establishments and ask if they don't mind, if they'd mind having it, that it's not a big thing.
That's what didn't I say that earlier in my comments? I thought I did, that the director and I would issue for 2023, we'd go back out to the businesses again and see if there was any additional businesses that would like to take the guides there.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you'll go to the businesses directly, that's good, thank you.
It went out to all the businesses in town, actually through the economic development officer. She emailed and contacted all of them. And like I said, it was only 3 or 4. It was 3 at the beginning and then 1 added extra at the end, that we do drop off, staff drop off every time they're printed.
Okay, Councillor Eppley?
Thank you, Mayor. This has been a discussion that's been happening since I've been elected. And every year, you're right, Deputy Mayor, we have this conversation. And the town has correspondence with residents. We will be sending out our tax bills soon. I've asked if we could maybe include that into that correspondence, because the Deputy Mayor is right in her comment of, well, if we're just looking on social media, then we'll only get the people who are on social media. But we have all kinds of different ways to communicate. We have our website. We can say if you would like to have a copy of the recreation guide mailed to you to get yourself added to this list and how to unsubscribe, we could certainly use that as part of our communication protocol. We have our taxes that go out by printed form every year. We can include an extra letter in that says, hey, if you'd like to receive correspondence from the town, please let us know. This is what we offer. Check what you want. We can have a spreadsheet here. We can send that information out. There's lots of ways to engage in different forms of communication with people about this. The Deputy Mayor's right. I have residents who come to me all the time. I don't want any more glossy stuff showing up in my driveway, in my mail. And I even asked one point for staff to show us the difference in the cost between the glossy material and not glossy, and the glossy was cheaper. So we've been having this discussion for quite some time. I do understand that there's a communications strategy protocol document that's being worked on. And I've requested that this has been part of a communications approach, I think each year for the last number of years as well. So if we could maybe ask that the appropriate committee go back and look at how we do that and how we make sure we branch all those communications and then have ways for it to come in, then we can do that. I do have a concern though, when I'm hearing the director say she has 100 copies of something sitting there that is printed and hasn't been utilized, because taxpayers are not going to be happy about that. And the other thing that I would want to raise a red flag about, which I always do from the economic development lens, is that we need to be sure that if we're going to put anything in any business, that we have provided the same opportunity to all businesses. Not everyone has to take it up, but everyone has to be afforded the same opportunity, because otherwise the town council could be seen as favoring one business over another. We don't know what the deal is that Catherine Melbourne has with her paper with businesses. I don't know what that is, but I do want to make sure that we as a municipality are providing fair and equal opportunity to the taxes that we are expecting, the businesses that we're expecting to pay taxes to us.
Right, so
Thank
we
you.
did go out to all businesses.
Yes, please.
And I know that at least at one point, I received in my mailbox on Bowling Line a paper copy of a survey of how I wanted to get my information from the council. We sent it out that? Right, so.
Yeah, so we can maybe make that an annual thing, Mayor. It's like, why does Coke and Pepsi advertise? Because people might forget, right?
me.
So just a continual part of our communication strategy.
All right, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Ward, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right. All right, liaison committees. Atlantic Mayor's Congress, no update. Intergovernmental Affairs, so over the last little while, I've been talking to MHA while still pushing forward for our meeting regarding water, plus some other projects that are going to go with the Department of Transportation Works, looking at getting Torbay Road paved. Some additional work. I know that I did receive an email the other day, correspondence from a resident regards to shouldering on Torbay Road. Some potholes in various areas that is the responsibility of the Department of Transportation. She hadn't initially included the RMHA on it. She had Dave Brazel on it, but I copied it to MHA Wall, and he followed up with her, and he's following up with the department on our behalf. So as soon as he hears something, we will hear it in regards to those things. Jack Byrne. We had the
Meeting the 17th.
pardon?
So we're meeting the 17th?
Okay, and we did have our community reps in here to meet with council before the meeting, and that was nice to get to meet them and in person and find out what their interests are. So there are community reps that represent our residents along with us on Jack Byrne Arena Board.
Can you just give their names?
Pardon?
Can you just give their names for the public?
Yeah, it was
Lori.
David Hearn and
Furlong?
Lori Furlong. Lori Short Furlong. Okay. Northeast Avalanche Joint Council.
We have a meeting, an AGM on Wednesday evening.
Okay. We're on with Lancaster. Now that the holiday season is over, I'm gonna get CA do me up a little correspondence to send to the RNC to ask them to come down to attend one of our council meetings, give an update on what they're doing in our community and regards to traffic and crime or whatever else is going on. Whatever he feels like is important for us to know. Tony?
I have one question on the Northeast Avalanche Joint Councils.
Sure.
Deputy Mayor, on the agenda, is there a continuous discussion between collaborative efforts for the Northeast Avalanche Joint Council? Is that a standing item? And I apologize if I haven't read all the minutes and everything,
You mean, is there,
but in terms of collaboration, we're talking about, regional alliances and all these things, and we're getting staff members to do it, and I would think that Northeast Avalanche Joint Council will be certainly a place to bring it up and discuss it and push it from a political level, I guess.
normally when Mayor Mike Dahl is there, something will come up on it, but other than that, we're looking at having a symposium again in the spring, so I'm thinking that that'll probably be one of the topics. For sure, that'll end up coming up at that point in time. One of the players, and I'm looking at from down this way, we just went out asking that some of the towns that don't have anybody participating, to try to get somebody from all the towns to participate in it.
Can we review the mandate of Northeast Avalanche Joint Councils and find out what actually the output from those meetings?
We have
should
an
be,
MOU that was distributed last year as part of the package, so that everybody would have had it.
Okay.
So I'll just ask Holly again if she,
Forward again, yeah. I'll read this time, if I didn't before.
well, it's been there, I know, every year, especially even with the AGM, and last year, I know, because we had new councillors became part, that's part of it, and then whenever there's an AGM. So that would be in the last couple of years for sure.
And I apologize, maybe I just pay more attention to the minutes and everything come out. I often, in my mind, I'm sitting there saying, I don't hear much, I won't say positivity, but this is what I can think of the top of my head, in terms of coming from the joint councils themselves. It's almost like meeting for the sake of meeting and no outcomes or no collaborative efforts coming from it or something along those lines.
you know, anybody can attend, it's not just down to 2 reps, so if you feel that way, maybe it'd be worth your while to attend some of the meetings and just get a feel from it
No, I'll wait for a minute.
yourself.
I'm not saying I want to participate, I'm just saying, looking at the functionality of joint council, if it comes down to that, you know, I'm necessary to attend, I certainly will.
No, I'm just saying,
Well,
because a
I'm
lot
just-
of times it's as good as what the people that are there bring to the table and their discussion and what they want to have at it.
What took my mind was Jack Marine and the board, and the fact that there's a cross-section of members on Jack Byrne.
But see, yeah, but that wouldn't pertain.
No, I
I
know,
know.
but I was looking at the personalities at play and, you know, the focus at the end of the day and what benefit does it actually provide, I guess, to the Northeast.
Right.
But to that point, though, the regional, these groups were brought together so that the municipalities could come together and bring forward their common interests with one voice. And I recall being part of back in the days of, early 2000s, when we kicked this back up again after the Rural Secretariat, because the Rural Secretariat was part of what brought back the joint councils again across the island. And so I was on Burin Peninsula at that time, we were bringing this forward, and the whole idea was to bring the municipalities together, to have joint collaborative conversations, so they could see where their synergies were, where they're working together, and how they, as a collective, massive group, I was the Burin Peninsula, Northeast Avalon, whichever region you're in, could bring your collective thoughts forward to get the attention of the provincial, federal government to lobby for what you need for your region. So that was the mandate at the time, but I think you make a really good point, Councillor Pollard, because as I'm listening to this discussion, I'm thinking about regionalization, regional cooperation, where that fits in, how we're having these discussions. And you're right, Deputy Mayor, there are new people around these tables who don't have the background history that some of us do about where things came from. So maybe it might be a good conversation to talk about how the regional joint councils are working and how they're working with the umbrella of regionalization and opportunities to work together. Because when that report came out about regionalization, I argued, and you'll recall this, Mayor, because you sat at the table with us at M&L, the Northeast Avalon can benefit just as well as any other part of this province from working together collaboratively, cost-sharing services, finding opportunities where we can bulk buy, that sort of thing. And my understanding of the discussions with the mayors, deputy mayors, and CAOs is to work in that context. But it might be that we're having different groups, having different discussions at different times, which makes more meetings and less ability to participate. And then we're not really having that focused push forward. So the deputy mayor sits on all of those seats. Maybe it's a part of the conversation about going back and looking at, is this being effective in the models that we're using? And is there another way to reprofile what we're doing back to the joint council discussion to see if we can push some of that agenda forward? Definitely worth looking at and talking
Well,
about.
what am I missing? Because I look at the regionalization with the Killy Coast, which is part of the mayors, deputy mayors, and CAOs. So in that 19 communities are represented with the Northeast Avalon Joint Council. So they would have their own, I guess, working between that for different communities.
Right.
So all you could have at that would be a high-level presentation, which we have had with the minister speaking at that. So then it's up to us to bring it at another level. And that's a really important, discussion that we need to have again between the mayors and CAOs and deputy mayors with the Killy Coast group, because that's where it has to take place, right?
I think the scope of discussion, though, on these things, like there could be opportunities across the 19, there could be opportunities across the 6, that makes sense to have different agenda items brought to different tables. But I think, to Councillor Pollard's point, maybe review of what the function and goal of those meetings are and what those action items and deliverables coming out of them might be more efficient to provide results and tactics for the time that you're investing into it. That's a win-win, right? So that, I think that's what Tony's point was getting to, and I think that makes sense, looking at where do all municipalities benefit from the cost savings from any ability to work collaboratively.
Well, I mean, for the conversations that I've had with members of our M&L board from different areas of the province, everybody has joint councils, right? But I think that similarly to the regionalization discussion where the province went, is that on the Northeast Avalon it's different than in the Northern Peninsula when it comes to the joint council, as most of the towns in here are pretty self-sufficient, and which is the reason the government took their position with regionalization in terms of Northeast Avalon being a completely different animal than the rest of the province. So, yeah, I mean, all the joint councils have their purpose. Depending on where you are in the province, would be different.
Because it's interesting, because you participated in our joint council as well as the others, and what the similarities are in the agendas from when you were there as the director, right?
Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
participated in many joint councils, and I think that the mayor is absolutely right, that just because of the different regions, it's required that different joint councils function differently. But our joint council, there's no reason why an agenda item couldn't be, how are we functioning? Are there areas that we could improve? Are there things that we want to look at and how we're, moving forward to have our collective
I
voices
got that
heard?
wrote down as an agenda
Yeah.
topic for even to bring up on Wednesday night, to go
Yeah.
back and have
And if there is an
thoughts
interest-
about.
Exactly, yeah, if there's an interest in that, then see where to from there with where that goes, right?
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So
I
you
think-
had no report?
Can I just make
Go
one
ahead.
comment? I think the question should be asked, because that group has been together now for so long, or in existence for so long. What have you ever accomplished with that group?
We never got Northeast Avalon Regional
Right.
Plan adopted.
That's right, but that's a question, you spend a lot of time, and I tune in when I can, but, what have you,
The only big difference in the last couple of years, now we have the different various MHAs
the
and
guests and
ministers
the RNC,
that will come in,
It's
and
nice, but-
it's an information sharing, right? Because there's a lot, I find, even with regards to duplication, a lot of the different groups, and I think it's a discussion that we need to have between like M&L and the Mental Health Task Force and the different groups that we have, and there's a lot of the same people, and that's after coming up before and saying like, we just had a presentation on this,
Right.
and
And,
even for new people that's there, it's fine, but
In
for
twen-
some of the same people that have been around for a while.
In 2023, the M&L regional meetings are gonna start up again, because they haven't had them since the pandemic.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be another layer of things, but to your point about what they accomplished, a lot of the driver for many of these, regional, what's it called?
Joint council.
Joint
Joint
councils.
councils across the province, one of their main agenda items all the time is waste management. Because everybody deals with eastern waste management, western, central,
yeah.
whatever, and there's only so many reps on those. When those towns get together, that's one of their major topics, because the cost of waste management across the province has gone crazy, particularly off the Northeast Avalon. We can't even comprehend how much it's costing for municipalities in the west and north and central to pay for their garbage compared to what we do. They're paying double or triple even in some cases, so. Anyway, thank you. I'll move on from that. That is your question, Tony? Perfect. So,
I will make a promise to review the next series of meetings, next 7 minutes.
all right, Trowbridge Volunteer Fire Department, Councillor Manning.
Okay, minutes are there for December the 5th meeting for your review. The next meeting now is next Monday night, so I have more updated information, but it's pretty much status quo, working on everything they do so well over there.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Urban Municipalities Committee, I haven't received the updated minutes yet from our last meeting. When I do receive them, I'll be sure to send them along and get them added to the agenda. All right, notice of motion, none. New business. Councillor Tapper passed, Councillor Ballard passed, Councillor Manning passed, Goss passed, Epley.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank the Torbay Lions Club for their seniors dinner that they had this week. I noticed that you were there, and
No, serious.
our MHA also helped participate with the and support the event. It's nice to see community groups coming together and offering dinners, and I believe that one was free for seniors. And it's really important, especially this time of the year. It's hard to get out for the best of us, especially after the weather that's coming tomorrow. So I think it's really important to acknowledge them for the work that they do. They're always coming up with innovative ideas and doing the best they can to help and support people in the community. And I just wanted to put a thank you out on that. I also wanted to mention, I shared this week an incident that I experienced in a school area. My daughter had contacted me about getting her lunch, and I went to pick her up, and I had her and her friends in the vehicle with me. On the way back from getting their lunch, some vehicle pulled out on Mans Lane, which is a traffic-controlled neighborhood, with children walking from getting their lunch up that road. And there were 3 vehicles behind me, and one of them kept coming out and passing me and going like this, trying to get the drag going. Wrong person to try to get to drag friends. We all know what I'm like when I'm that happy. So I stopped the vehicle. I hit my safety blinkers. I stopped the vehicle in the middle of the road, got out so everyone was safe. The teenagers were very embarrassed in the vehicle with my Torbay Town Council jacket on, because it was cold that day and those jackets are warm. And I said, roll down the windows. And I looked at the people in the vehicles and I said, not on, not here. Very, very particular about how I shared it with the community to make sure that there was no pounding on anybody over it. But I wanted the conversation to happen. I want to thank the parents who reached out to me, many did. What was the make of that vehicle? I wouldn't share it online because I didn't want to have Fawcett, still a relatively small town. But at the end of the day, many families spoke to their loved ones about safety in the school. And I think it's really in school zones. And I think it's really important we have this discussion, period. So I just wanted to remind people that it's very important to please drive the speed limit. I was getting razzed by my teenage daughter going, you're always driving the speed limit. Yes, I am, because it's very important. And I just want to make sure that I have already asked that we add some communication about that to our social media and that we're getting it out there and sharing. But it's an important conversation. And, we hear about it as council members. I witnessed it firsthand. It's not okay. So I just want to thank the people who reached out and said, hey, I am going to, even though it's not my family member, I'm going to speak about it. We're going to have the conversation. And I know everybody in the school over there knew about it before the day was out because I heard about that. So I think, I don't want any negatives coming out of this. I just want a positive and share the importance of thinking about that. So that's those are the items, Mayor, that I wanted to add for new business. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Just wanted to thank all the staff for the different events leading up to Christmas, especially the seniors dinner that was over there, and the entertainment, and we went with that. Was a lot of favorable comments about how the whole evening went. I want to say thank you to the coaches and that were involved with the various tournaments and that with the Northeast Eagles and that over Christmas. And last but not least is to wish everybody a Happy New Year, especially our staff and council and all of our residents. All the best in the coming year.
All right, thank you. All right, quickly. First, I want to thank the Killicoast Girl Guides for sending us this.
Cool.
It's a certificate of appreciation awarded to the town of Torbay. Thank you for helping girls be everything she wants to be. So, and I thank them for what they do for young girls in our community and providing them with a place to go and that's safe and to learn new activities. And thank you for sending us that. I want to congratulate Nathan Young and his curling rink, who just participated or won the Atlantic University Sport Playdowns. So they won that, and now they're going to be going to Fredericton, New Brunswick to play as the Mon Seahawks in curling. And they'll be competing in the under 21 provincials in January 18th to the 22nd. So that's Torbay's own Nathan Young, that's the skip of that team. So congratulations to them. I want to say congratulations to Team Perry, who Nicholas Codner from Torbay is the third on that team. And they just won for the second year in a row the under 18 provincials. And they will be traveling to the Nationals for under 18 in Timmins, Ontario in the next little while. So congratulations and good luck to them. And that's pretty much it. And I want to say thank you to staff and council for all the hard work you put in last year. This is the start of a new year, new beginnings for everybody, and hopefully 2023, I always say will be better than 2022. If I live to be 100, I hope always the next year is better than the last. So anyway, that's all I got to say about all of that. Our next public council meeting is scheduled to take place on Monday, January 23rd, 2023, right here at the Torbay Town Hall. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Oh, any inquiry, any quick Q&A?
No,
Did you do that? Okay.
Motion.
So moved.
Motion, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. So long, folks.